Keep going, keep trusting, keep knowing that your manifestation isn't close. It's here already. It is here already. Standing conviction, knowing your power, your worth, and your energy and your frequency are already in that aligned state to have that manifestation. Sometimes our 3D reality takes just a little more time to show to us, to verify to us what the internal state is. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to Here with Sarita, the new Manifesting Paradigm podcast. I highly suggest if you are listening to this episode on Spotify or Apple or another platform to head over to YouTube and watch it there, because I have the most dreamy setup. It's actually the idyllic setup for me when I had envisioned myself as a podcaster or as a traveling podcaster before I became a completely nomadic person. One of the things that I was envisioning was being able to take not only my microphone, but set up so I would be in a space that felt very like a conversation versus a masterclass. One of the contributing factors is this microphone stand that I have, and that's been something that I invested in. And this microphone stand actually is specifically more for musicians, I believe, people that are singing or playing instruments. However, I got it and I saw it and I was like, this is perfect because I want to have conversations there in the room with me, or feeling like you're in the room with me, versus me sitting at a desk with a microphone in front of a camera, feeling like I'm giving like a masterclass talk or something like that. So this is just so much more comfy and familiar and just relaxed, because here I am sitting on a couch, just relaxing myself and being in a comfy state with comfy clothes. Also very comfy couch, along with the setup, which is actually absolutely ideal. And the lighting is just a chef's kiss, because I have the lighting here that's all natural, that is floating in here, and it's not too bright or anything. So it's just the idyllic situation. It's a little office space that I have, or I'm staying in somebody's home and this is their office space. So kudos to them for having this beautiful space where I can actually record this episode. This episode is actually going to be a mini update on my nomadic travels. It's been a while since I've had any type of update in regards to what's happening with me personally. I'm going to intertwine a little bit of manifestation into it because that's my vibe, of course. But it's very important that I share with you what's happening, or what has happened and transpired with me in regards to being a completely nomadic person. So before I get into all of that, there have been some changes in general within the podcast and the business that you may have seen. So with the podcast itself, actually, there hasn't been too much of a visual change, but that is to come. My goal is to have new graphics, and my goal is to have new music. I actually have been talking with my podcast editor, and I've already spoken with somebody who can actually create my very own introduction music, which will be used for this podcast. So it's uniquely developed according to my own vibe and my essence within my business. Speaking of my business, the business itself name has actually changed. For a very long time, my business has been under the handle Sarita Wellness. It's also been my business name on my website. And Sarita Wellness itself was born at the time in, I believe, 2015 or so, when I was moving through a lot of bodily pain, but also very unaligned life. And so I was going through this stage of my life where I felt like I needed a lot more mindfulness and meditation and yoga to be able to piece together different aspects of my life. And so Sarita Wellness was born because I was very much into essential oils at the time. which I still am. I still use them very regularly, but I was also promoting them with my wellness business. And so I was starting to eat a lot more healthy and discover actually mindfulness and yoga and meditation. And so it was a whole vibe for me, right? And so I was coming from a place of this need to heal my mental state because I was working through a lot of insomnia. I was in a very unaligned relationship, which I didn't know at the time. I was also in a very unaligned profession. There was just a lot of things in my life that were just not in congruency with like what I really desired out of life. And at the time, I didn't even know any better. I didn't understand. Those were the things. I knew that I wanted certain things, but I just didn't know exactly like how to even start, right? This was pre law of attraction and manifestation introduction for me, because I was actually introduced to it around 2018, and it was 2019 when I started learning more about the law of attraction, and then it was 2020, of course, when I really dove deep into manifestation during COVID. So Sarita Wellness was the name that I just stuck with my business, and it felt aligned for a time, especially post my breakup back in 2021, because I just felt like there was a lot of self-love and healing aspects that were happening during the time. Since then, of course, as you know, if you've been here at the podcast for a while, the name has changed. And I should say the name has still been the same, because back to here with Sarita, but I also added the tagline, the new Manifesting Paradigm podcast, because I've spoken so much more heavily into manifestation. Then not only was I doing manifestation as part of my lifestyle, I actually even started enrolling clients to help them with their manifestation journey, right? So one-on-one clients. Recently, just because of the things that have transpired in my life, if you go back and listen to episode, I can't remember the actual number of the episode, but the last episode of 2025, you will see that I really have done a lot of change within the last year or so, especially since I left San Diego back in May of 2025 for my nomadic travels. That's a whole journey in itself. As you know, I have been a full-time digital nomad for almost 1 year now. Insane how fast the year has flown by. It was May 2025, May the 4th be with you, was the day that I left San Diego and traveled up to Los Angeles and essentially started my full-time nomadic lifestyle. So we are almost at 1 year. I will definitely do a 1 year reflection when the time comes at the end of this month, April, or the beginning of May, just to dive in deeper about all the things that have happened during my nomadic travels. If you want to stay up to date, I highly recommend you go to my socials. And speaking of that, like I mentioned, just to circle back to the name of the business that I have, the podcast name is staying the same, of course. Back to here with Sarita, the new Manifesting Paradigm podcast. However, Sarita Wellness has now been retired, and now my Instagram handle, my TikTok handle, my YouTube channel, all those things have now been transformed into my name, which is Sarita Buer. On some of the handles, it may be sarita.buer, which is my Instagram, and then also my TikTok. I believe with YouTube, I was not able to do a dot, so it's just Sarita Buer. So that's my Instagram handle now, or excuse me, that's my handles, my social media going forward, and my business. So my website now is saritabuer.com. So I'm actually very aligned with that, because I feel like when we transform just the way we are as a person, as we transform our lifestyle and we transform who we are as a person, sometimes our business name still is kind of stuck with like the old version of us. And speaking of that, and this is what this episode is kind of about a little bit, is a couple things as you have maybe seen the progression of the last few episodes, especially the solo episodes. Since December 2025, I made the conviction, or I should say, I made the decision with conviction that going forward, my viewpoint and the way that I speak about manifesting is not the little boxed in mainstream manifestation talks that I have been kind of going with, like the manifest your paid for lifestyle. now I really truly believe, because being a nomad has helped give me some insight on the importance of manifesting as a woman of color who is traveling around the United States, who is trusting the process, who is trusting in the outcome and the delivery of things working out for me, and literally putting to the test every single day, manifesting things into my reality. And that's as simple as manifesting a place to sleep, right? Because oftentimes my lifestyle is very unpredictable. I don't necessarily have a place to go every single minute, right? If you are living in a home and you are renting or you're owning, you know that that is the home that you are going home to. That is the bed that you are sleeping in. That is the location where you park your car. The grocery store that you go to is the place where you get your groceries. You don't normally deter from too much of your surrounding area unless you are a full-time traveler or you travel for a majority of your work or your lifestyle, right? For somebody who has a very mundane lifestyle, sometimes it's very challenging for them to wrap their heads around the fact that there are often times when I just don't have a plan or I don't have something planned out, which is what this episode is going to talk a little bit about. Like I said, 2025 is when I stood in conviction and I realized at the end that I'm no longer willing to stand with the mainstream pop culture manifestation hacks, right? We are having deep conversations here about nervous system regulation and really embodiment of the body-based manifesting and utilizing our ancestral wisdom to guide us, which is something that we have not necessarily been conditioned or taught and normalized here, especially here in the United States. Like, it's just not something we talk about. And so mainstream manifesting is really the watered down version of that. It's put in this nice little like box that helps, that's very like spiritual and woo woo and very appealing to the eye, right? And so how I am bringing back manifesting to a very body based is realizing we have this knowledge within ourselves that our ancestors used way back when it came to manifesting our reality and manifesting things, right? So this very interesting intersectionality of manifestation as a liberation and rediscovering and remembering your inner freedom. So that's really what my nomadic travels has been teaching me, right? Is to learn that and also to strengthen that muscle and realize that that is the most important factor when it comes to manifesting. Oftentimes you will hear manifesting from a very will-powered state, where manifestation and the inner work that needs to be done to be able to have in conviction, knowing things are working out, is remembering your power, remembering your authority, and remembering your frequency is your most important asset. So for me, how this is developed within this particular time period has been how I have learned to be able to trust the process more so than I did before. So before, oftentimes, it was very challenging for me when there was a desired outcome. I wanted to really control the outcome, and I would get obsessive about how things would unfold. And oftentimes what ends up happening, and I've talked about this in the Paradox of Force episode, a couple episodes back last year, how the paradox of force is essentially when we are trying to willpower our way through something, the more we try to force, the more we actually repel something. So for me, as a digital nomad manifesting her way across the United States, when I left San Diego back in May 2025, I had the first close to 6 months planned out. I had places that I had arranged to stay, places that I knew where I was going to be laying my head, taking care of an animal, and I had bunches of months planned out. And as I got into a couple months, I would plan further out ahead, right? So it would be like I always knew in advance, a couple months in advance, like I knew where I was going. And there were a couple of times during the first 6 months of my nomadic travels. So it would have been May 2025 through about like November-ish, where I had an idea of where I was going within like a couple weeks. Never did it get to the point last year where I was down to the very day where I was like, I don't know where I'm going. Fast forward to 2026, this year, that's exactly what happened. Even back in November of last year, when I was doing a pet sit for one of my friends in Illinois, I was kind of figuring out where it was that I was going to land. I knew that I wanted to go to the East Coast and be in the East Coast for the holidays. And I knew that was going to happen. And so during that time, I was able to manifest something into fruition for a long stay in Philadelphia. So if you remember, if you've been following me on my socials, you'll know that I was in Philadelphia for a good 12 some weeks almost, which was a very long time. And so that came to fruition through the time that I was actually staying. And I wasn't really stressed out about it. Like I knew something would come forth and I knew something aligned would come forth. It wasn't like the last day, before I left Illinois where it was like, I don't know where I'm going. I just know I'm going to the East Coast. No, I had landed in Illinois. And I think like the day after I'd had the interview, someone hired me. I was able to stay in their place in Philadelphia. So I'd had it like within a week or two before the end of the stay. So fast forward to 2026, this girl decided to wait till the last minute. And also I feel like it was almost me wanting to play around with the possibility of what could happen when I decided to wait last minute and not have things planned out. So I think there was a energy of unintentionality there, and then there was an energy of intention, meaning I did not have anything planned out after I left Philadelphia. I kind of knew where I was going, the direction I was going, but I didn't have the actual location days figured out to a T, right? I didn't have it stays planned out. So when I left Philadelphia, I want to say it was like February. It was the last Saturday of February because I believe March 1st was probably that Sunday. So it was like that last Saturday of February. I did not know exactly the day before. I didn't really know exactly where I was going. I knew that just being a digital nomad, I know like I can only drive a certain amount of hours, right? And so I was like, you know what? I have a friend in Ohio. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can hang out with her for a day. So I messaged her and I drove to Ohio, hung out with her, and decided when I left, I was like, I don't really know. I know that I need to get back to St. Louis, Missouri to hang out for my grandmother's birthday, her 100th birthday, which was such a cool celebration. And I knew that I was heading towards the Midwest. So I was like, well, let me go visit her in Ohio because that's a reasonable distance and one day that I can drive. And I was just kind of like, you know what? It's all working out. The day that I drove into her home, I made the decision at that time. I was like, you know what? In the evening, I'm going to be present. I'm going to hang out with her. I'm not going to let there be any distractions. I'm just going to let this all happen. Let this all happen in the way that it's supposed to happen. And so I did. And we hung out. We had a great time. We spent quality time together. I didn't have my phone present. I didn't have distractions. I was just all in with her. And then the next morning, she asked me, she's like, so what's the plan, Sarita? I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, I'll figure it out after breakfast. So after I cooked breakfast for them, I sat down at my computer and I was like, well, since I need to head to St. Louis, I was like, and I'm really tired today and I don't feel like I can drive more than like 4 hours. I was like, I'm just going to head to Columbus and see if there's anything there. On the way, I drove there. I was like, you know what? Let me just get a hotel and we'll see what happens. I believe it was a Sunday. So I said, all right, so I'm just going to hang out at the hotel that night. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to book it for 2 nights just in case so I can get some work done on Monday. So I did. I booked my hotel for those 2 nights. And the night that I arrived, or I should say the evening that I arrived at the hotel after being like really tired because I hadn't slept very well, I decided I was led to the thought of, okay, I'm going to sit with my plant medicine, my hapacito, which I do. I've talked about this in an episode when I did kambo. Hape has been one of the medicines that I personally use frequently. And it is something that helps me come back to center and also has helped me with my spiritual practice and connect to my guides and my ancestors and my inner self. And so I decided to sit with Hapacito on my own, because normally I will do it with my medicine sisters all collectively on our during FaceTime. So I sat with Hapacito, and at that moment, the voice came to me, throw your phone to the side and just have an evening all to yourself. So I was like, I still don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have one more night, thank goodness, to figure this out. It's fine. It's all good. Everything's working out. And I did. I was like, you know what? I'm in this really nice hotel with great sheets. You know, hotel sheets are such the best, right? Everything is clean and crisp. There was a big bathtub. I was like, I'm going to take a really, really hot bath after I did hape. No more looking at my phone, no over controlling everything, no trying to willpower my way into a stay or something to happen. And I was like, something is going to come into fruition, right? I decided to put my phone away. And I went to bed. I watched a movie, went to bed that night, got a really good rest, like really good sleep. Mind you, I forgot to mention this was during the eclipse season. So everything during eclipse season is totally heightened, right? It's like absolutely crazy and heightened. So it was eclipse season. So it was lack of sleep. I didn't know where I was, heading. I knew I was heading to St. Louis, but I didn't know where I was staying. I didn't have any specific place to stay. I wasn't really wanting to pay for an Airbnb for like 3 weeks before my grandmother's birthday. I was just really in a place of let the universe do its job. I'm already putting the intention out there. I'm trusting that there's something that's going to come up. I woke up the next morning after having a beautiful night's sleep. And that was like the best night's sleep I had had in like a week, I think. And before I reached for my phone, because that's always been something that I do, reach for your phone and look to see. I got up and I said, okay, Sarita, I'm in conviction with a couple things. I am deciding right now that I am the type of person who attracts other people who are in the decision of conviction as well. Meaning, there have been times on my nomadic travels where I've had people interested in hiring me for taking care of their house or taking care of their pets, and they've been kind of wishy-washy and they're just not really sure. Oh, I don't know if she's good fit. I don't know if it's like the right thing. Now, this may be you when it comes to buying my products or services. You may be sitting there like, oh yeah, manifestation's great. Like, I don't know if she can help me. Like, I don't know if like her products or services are the best for me. What I'm attracting, what I decided at that moment was, I am the type of person for myself, Sarita, me as an identity, is when there's something that I desire, when there's something that I want, blame it on the double Aries, right? My Aries rising and my Aries sun, that I'm the type of person that will go after what I want. Meaning, when there is a purse that I want, I go after and get it. When there is a vacation that I want, I go after and get it. When there's a man I want to talk to, I go and speak to them. So I'm the type of person where I stand in conviction, knowing when there's something that I want, I go and actually get it. And so I said, in that moment, I'm standing in conviction with the people that want to hire me for my products, my services, for my pet sitting, for my house sitting, for having me stay in their home, all these things, that they are standing in conviction with what they want. And I said, that's what I want to experience. That is what I'm attracting in, because I know my value. I know my worth. I know that I have good products and services. I know my energy is absolutely wonderful. When people come back from their vacations, they're absolutely in awe by the energy of their house, by their pets being happy, with their house being clean. I have 5-star reviews with my coaching. I have 5-star reviews with my podcast. I have 5-star reviews when it comes to my pet sitting as well. So why wouldn't I not want to attract somebody that is in conviction, knowing they want me? The minute I said that, the minute I stood in my worth, the minute I stood in my power, the minute I realized like this is what I want to experience, not maybe about 10 minutes later, I went on my app and I saw somebody that was needing a stay or needing somebody to stay in their home, which was about an hour away. So I was in Columbus at the time, and that person is in Dayton, Ohio. So that's about an hour or some drive. And I emailed her and I said, hey, like, I'm noticing this, like, this, you haven't filled a position. Are you in need of somebody? She said, oh my God, yes, please. Thank you. I was trying to figure out if I could piece people together to watch my pets over the course of like a week and a half. If you're available a full time, I would love to have you come. Let's jump on a call and, I'll tell you all the details. Boom, right there. She was in conviction. There was a need. I filled the need. There was a want for me. It was like the perfect puzzle piece fit, right? Not only was that experience, but I also had that experience over again and again. When you stand in that moment with conviction, you know that you have a desired outcome that you want to experience, right? You think about who is the type of person that I need to be in order to have that outcome delivery, right? And for me, it was stepping back into my power and my worth and my knowledge of knowing that, like, I already have evidence of 5-star reviews across the board with all of my income streams, right? And also knowing that I'm the type of person that stands in conviction when there's something that I want, knowing that I can attract and mirror somebody with that exact same expression and experience. So it's been beautiful how this whole process has really come together so wonderfully when I have stood in conviction of my power and my worth and manifesting with so much more ease, right? And so that happened again when I was able to travel to St. Louis as well. There was a lady that saw my profile and was like, this is a great fit. I applied, boom, without really any question. It was like the hire button was right there, right? The cart, just like when you make a decision of something that you really, really want and you know is worth it, you go and you get it, right? There's no question. There's no question. There's no second guessing yourself. There's no nothing, right? Being in that place when it comes to your manifestation process is pure empowerment. It's pure liberation because you know not only your value and your worth, but also what you want to experience with ease, right? With ease. And then that's exactly what happened. And that is what's happened for me since then. I've been able to manifest places within within a couple hours. And what is the beauty of this is sometimes the universe shows up in the 11th hour. Oftentimes we want to throw in the towel. We are tired of waiting. We're like, oh my gosh, it's too far off. Like it's not going to happen. Have you ever seen that image? I don't know who's responsible for that image, but it's the image of the little guy that's like picking away under the earth, and he's trying to get to like this crystal like gold mine. And there's like the image of the person that's like throwing away the pick and is like, oh, I'm done with this. And the other one who's like consistently going at it, and he's like this far, like inches away from getting the pot of gold or essentially the crystals right underneath the earth. And so that's essentially what this whole episode really is to help you see, is that keep going, keep trusting, keep knowing that your manifestation isn't close. It's here already. It is here already. Standing conviction, knowing your power, your worth, and your energy and your frequency are already in that aligned state to have that manifestation. Sometimes our 3D reality takes just a little more time to show to us, to verify to us what the internal state is. Recognize that my decision in that moment, it was like a timeline jump shift. I could have sat there and been in victimhood and be like, oh, this is just not working out for me. Like, I don't know where I'm going to stay. I'm just going to, pay for like another night at the hotel. No, I got up after a night rest of sleep, a good night rested sleep. So my vibration and my energy was a lot better, right? From the lack of sleep that I had had for the last like week during eclipse season. And I stood in conviction. I was like, this is how it is. I demanded from the universe. I demanded from myself. I made that happen, right? Co-creative process. That wasn't just me, but it took me to realize this is me standing in my power, timeline jumping, essentially becoming the identity of the woman that believed with conviction that this is already here for me. If there's anything that I want you to take away from this episode, is that It is not far off. It's here already. The identity shift is in your power. You get to make that transition like right now into that identity that believes with conviction. It's already here. It's already working out, and it's already working in your favor. And so here I am, manifested a place here in Colorado where I get to stay for a good month, if not longer. There's some flexibility here to actually enjoy my time here in a beautiful state that I absolutely love, that I haven't come to in a long time. So I'm in Colorado Springs, and I'll be here until the end of April. And I'm just very excited to do some hiking and be out in nature and be here for my birthday. If you desire to work with me and you're in conviction of knowing your power and your strength, and you want to make that internal change right now, I suggest you head over to saritabuer.com/activate. That is my go at your own pace course called Activate Your Inner Wealth and Abundance. And it'll help you do that quantum shifting within 5 days, changing that internal state that'll help you not only feel more abundant, but also recognize your power, your worth, and that ancestral wisdom that is in there, in your body, in your DNA. It's just you remembering it. Again, go to saritabuer.com/activate. It'll be in the show notes as well. And again, my new handles are sarita.buer on Instagram and TikTok. And I believe on YouTube, it is just Sarita Buer as well. So again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And that is my little mini nomad update. Really hoping that you get to follow me some more as I conclude being a full-time digital nomad. Love you so much. We will see you in the next episode. And as always, keep being the amazing you that you are. Take care.